What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and this is my brutally honest review for Robocop Rogue City. I feel like over the course of the last couple decades, there's been this big debate about the idea of are video games art? And some developers have become obsessed with this idea, making games with deeper stories, crazier graphics, darker tales to tell, and sometimes these developers forget to make the games fun. Robocop Rogue City is a game that is purely about fun, and I think it's so insane it accidentally becomes art. I love this game. It is so freaking wild. Like, let me just say this right at the start of the video. At one point, a bunch of bikers are circling me on their motorcycles, and I grabbed one off of his motorcycle with my bare hand and threw him at other guys. And then I picked up his motorcycle and started throwing motorcycles at other guys as they screamed and did drugs. If that sounds fun, this is definitely the game for you. But let's actually break this down. Let's talk about the cringe, the cutscenes, the carnage, and why I think this game is good despite having some very substantial flaws, especially with the later parts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So the original Robocop came out back in 1987, and it's a very famous movie. It's got a lot of very funny scenes of, I'll buy that for $1, and just really weird corporate satire, making fun of the idea of a company running a police department. Detroit in this movie is just such a hellish landscape that they pretty much deploy military tech to try and clean up the streets. You are playing as Robocop in this, the person obviously from the movie itself, and you used to be a cop named Alex Murphy who was killed in an act of gang violence. But instead of just staying dead, you wake up. They've taken your dead body and put it inside this robotic shell to make you a walking, talking tank. You have memories. You know that you used to have a wife and a family, but now that's all behind you. Now it's all about justice. The best part about this game is that I feel like while it does play on the roots of the Robocop movie, it completely stands on its own. It's got bad 90s hair, it's got ridiculous one-liners from the chief of police being like, Robocop, you're a loose cannon. But on top of that, it's just so uniquely insane. I've never played a game like this. It's satire, but it's so thick you enjoy the ridiculousness of it. But how does it actually play? So this is a first-person shooter with some investigation aspects of it. Robocop is programmed to solve crimes. Now, a lot of times that basically means that in each of the missions, you're deployed in a particular part of Detroit, downtown, random abandoned factories, nightclubs, stuff like that. And while doing this, you're able to use your scanner vision to find clues, tracking down drug dealers, trying to find people that are having a pirate radio station that's broadcasting war propaganda and stuff like that. And you need to shut it down. You need to clean up these streets. And really what that means is shoot everybody always. Now, here's the thing. Robocop is not fast. He's pretty much a tank. He's able to walk and walk slightly faster, but there's no cover, there's no ducking, there's no jumping. You just walk from mission to mission, absolutely obliterating everybody. And yet somehow, even after the 15 hours I spent with this game doing a lot of the main quest, and yes, there are actually side quests, I never got bored of blowing up bad guys. And I think a lot of it comes down to just how good the environment is. This world looks so realistic, like in its own cartoonish way, of course, but when you're battling against supervillains or people giving dramatic speeches or trying to interrogate a suspect, all of it feels realistic in that absurdist, cartoonish 90s way. You believe this world is real, even as you're laughing as to how stupid it is. So in each of the different missions, when you get dropped into these different areas, you have a primary objective, but you're able to also just wander the streets and solve crime. times where you're walking along and there's like a shopkeeper getting hassled by just random jerks, and you have a choice of smashing their radio or writing them a ticket. If you find somebody illegally parked, you can put a ticket on their windshield. Or there's just random times where you could just go around and actually answer questions of the public, giving directions. Or sometimes the chief of police will just call you and give you extra missions and say, hey, the mayor's daughter's vehicle got stolen. Try and track it down. And you just have the option to do it. Now, you may be asking, why would I do side quests? What's the motivation of it? Especially because a lot of these side quests don't have as much combat. There is a rating system in this. Now, here's the part of the game I don't like. Robocop Rogue City has this pointless RPG element to it. The very best part of this game is when they just really let you off the leash. Times when you're trying to stop a hostage situation in a news station and you do this by shooting it up. Or times when you break into a local enemy base and they have military weaponry all over the place and you just start ripping up turrets and using it on the drug dealers who originally stole it. That's when the game is fun, but at the end of each mission, you go back to base and they rate your performance. They just basically tally up how many main quests, how many side quests, how much random evidence and stolen watches and random purses you find. And I guess to me, this feels pointless. The game itself is already fun, but something about this extra added gobbledygook, it does not add to the experience. They really heavily emphasize doing these side quests and stuff to get a high rating because it gives you experience, which unlocks talents in a talent tree. Now you can do engineering, combat, investigation, and this basically gives you extra skills. Like if you upgrade your visor, you'll see where to shoot the wall to bounce a shot to kill somebody behind cover. Or if you upgrade your talent trees for combat, you just straight up do more damage. Or if you upgrade certain parts of your engineering, you can just grab electric panels to heal yourself or do a dash or put up a little like laser barrier around yourself in combat to absorb damage. Now, I'm not saying this stuff is bad or that it's useless. My point is that I kind of wish that these are just abilities that we got in the story itself. I wish that like every 2 or 3 missions, they were like, hey, Robocop, you sure did kill 800 hookers today. Here's a new upgrade that protects you from hooker spit. I wish they did it like that instead of talent trees and stuff like that. It just felt like it dragged down the gameplay to keep going back to the police station to get another rating instead of letting me go to the next missions immediately. Now, the reason I really have this complaint is that Rogue City already manages to motivate you so well because it's funny. I don't need the encouragement of XP. I already want to do the side quests. Like there's really great side quests where you're doing non-combat stuff. It's cool to have like a side quest where you're working the front desk at the police station and you're actually trying to take police reports, people reporting their kids missing, or a guy who's on a wanted poster trying to turn himself in to get the reward for finding himself. Like, there's times where they have you go down to the server room and start searching for bug fixes. There's times where you just run into burning buildings to try and pull people out. And then there's a hippie inside the burning building who won't leave until you find his cat. So you're running around a burning building searching for a cat. There is just time and again where I already enjoyed the game, so it just felt stupid that after I'd have these really fun moments to go back to the office and basically get rated as to how much fun I had. Now, the other upgrade system is one that I do kind of enjoy, which is that your gun is programmable. You find these different motherboards that let you put them into your gun and program it. It's very basic, but you basically get like these like little chips that let you choose different pipe dream lanes. So you'll get extra damage, more attack power. Some of the gun upgrades actually make it so that people blow up more. You can increase the gore levels by upgrading your gun. You can make your gun into a machine gun. This is pretty fun, but again, it is one of those things where you kind of set it and forget it. Once you've upgraded your weaponry and once you've picked your couple talent points, you don't really stare at that stuff. The RPG aspects of this are not like super invasive. I just feel like in general, they're not very necessary. What really shines brightest in Robocop Rogue City though is just how fun this world is. It's so great to actually be going into an arcade, trying to search for drug dealers. And when you find them, they say really funny stuff like, "Oh, so I'm selling drugs to kids. That's a crime now?" Or like going into a bank and somebody has strapped a bomb onto the owner of the bank, and they say, "Oh no, Robocop, defuse this bomb or else when it blows up, our shareholders are going to lose a lot of money." And then the chief of police walks in and goes, "Robocop, defuse this bomb. I'll be safely outside. Call your gamer friend for help." So you call your friend who like plays Atari and he helps you defuse the bomb. This game is so freaking out there. It is just so beyond my comprehension. I love this game despite its problems. Yeah, there's glitches. Yeah, there's times where the freaking start screen is weird and laggy and Robocop's head is throbbing on it. There's times where randomly the game will get stuck in slow motion mode because my talent points glitched out. But I can kind of forgive just how stupid it is because it almost feels by design. The one part of this game, though, that I downright hated is that towards the end of the game, and I'm not going to show a bunch of it, you start basically fighting lots of robots. You've seen these in the movies. This isn't like some spoiler, but there's, basically other people are trying to make their own versions of Robocop, and they're not very good. The issue with this is that really when Robocop is at its best is when you are that walking, talking one-man army, blasting your way in and blasting your way out. It's not even about having weak opponents. It's that towards the end of the game, you're fighting guys in full-blown bulletproof outfits that can take 800 headshots and then big robots. And I don't know, to me, that's just not as funny. I feel like this game is trying to be a comedy. It is trying to be satire. So when you start going against faceless, nameless robots that don't talk or don't do anything, it's just not funny. And it does remind me of their previous game. So here's where I'm going to get some hate. This developer, Teyon, their previous game is a game that some people enjoy and some people despise, but it was a Terminator game called Resistance. I didn't really care for it very much. It just felt weird to be blasting Terminators for the entirety of the game. It wasn't super bad or anything like that. The end of this game feels exactly like Terminator Resistance, and I just didn't like that. It felt weird to go back to their previous game in the middle of this game, but it's not the biggest gripe. Overall, I had way more fun with Terminator Resistance than I thought I was going to have. Look at that, I actually slipped up. I had way more fun with Robocop Rogue City than I thought I was going to have. And honestly, I'm curious to see what they make next. This game may have some funky faces and weird uncanny valleys at times and really goofy audio, but I think overall, it's definitely worth playing. But let's go over to the ratings board because we have heard some good and some bad. Let's go put a big number on it. I am giving Robocop Rogue City an 8.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. I'll buy that for $1. Oh God, I want to rewatch the original Robocop now. I grew up with that movie and I loved it. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.